Next, should we do one of our first, or also our first special round of the?
Oh, we're
Of
going to do a
the
party game.
yes, party game. So,
Brilliant.
what
What
do
are
you
we going to
prefer,
play?
charades or Pictionary?
Oh, let's do Pictionary.
Pictionary, okay, Pictionary, cool.
You gonna go? You go first.
I'll
Or me?
go first. Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay.
I have here a blank piece of card,
Uh-huh.
onto which I'm going to draw a news story from this year, and let's see if you can understand it. Now, I may end up sort of taking it out of shot every now and then, just to. In fact, I'll draw the first element. The first element
Okay.
for you. Okay. So let's see. Whoop. Mhm. Okay.
Have you been to the dentist?
So okay. I'll continue.
Okay.
I'm drawing on the inside of a Cadbury's biscuit box, incidentally, which we very much enjoyed on Christmas Day.
Ah.
Hmm.
Other chocolate biscuits are available.
Oh, absolutely, but very few are quite so lovely. Although that said, though, I do like a nice bourbon. Okay.
No, I think I know where we're going with this one.
So what's that?
I think it's the lower mandible of a no. It's Stonehenge.
Stonehenge. Okay, Stonehenge, and then let's see. Now I'm gonna go a bit anachronistic here, but just
Right.
to sort of
That's a big word when we're still suffering from Christmas hangovers. But
I'm
anyway,
going
go
a
on.
bit outside the referred to time period, just to
Ah,
give you.
that's okay because Stukely thought that he was built by druids, so
Well, he did.
that was at least that was about 2,000 years out. So
Well, absolutely. Okay. Uh, uh, okay.
I can see a flag.
Yeah.
Is that a sort of sheep or something running across the wood? Down.
It's a dragon.
Oh, it's Welsh.
Yeah, Welsh
Oh,
flag, and
I know what this is. Do you also is the next thing you're going to draw a piece of deoxyribonucleic acid?
actually, I'll do that. Hang on.
Double helix.
Yeah, double helix. Hang on. Do you know what? I didn't even think to do that. I just had graves and a flag. There you go. Yeah.
I think we're dealing with a story about DNA in Stonehenge,
Yes, and specifically,
and specifically that Stonehenge was built by the Welsh.
no, that people buried near
Or
Stonehenge.
people who were
There you
buried,
go.
which the press then extrapolated to Stonehenge.
Exactly.
Which considering Wales didn't even exist at that point.
No, and also nothing resembling druids and all that sort of. But the point is, yes, this is the story, the news story that I. Well done, by the way. This is this is the news story.
It's a work of art. I hope you're going to frame that and put it in an appropriate place in your house.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's going to go up with some of my, my reconstruction drawings from uni. So this is the story that burials, and I know that's a Christian cross, but it's a grave. The burials around Stonehenge, seemingly those people had DNA that connected them to Wales, and this was an interesting one because at the time, on the one hand, I was very happy to see that some of this information had come back, and it was very interesting to know. But also, I was very much eager to try and tie down precisely what that meant, because those people were buried there by definition after the monument had begun to be built. They weren't buried there as the monument was being built. And in some circles of the internet, on Facebook, etc., people were going, "Oh, it must be a Welsh and Druids and Stonehenge confirmed, Half-Life 3 confirmed." Not everyone will get that reference, but
Ancient aliens.
Ancient aliens. But in fact, what we had was a much more complicated story, whereby maybe an element of the monument, for example, the Blue Stones connection to Wales, might be linked with this. We've got to tie down what the timeline is. But at the very least, it was interesting to see that we're able to understand where some of these burials were coming from. Also, as well, the fact that these later burials weren't necessarily coming from, for example, the Netherlands or parts of northern France. Some people were suggesting, for example, with Beaker people. So it was an interesting element that added to the story of Stonehenge, but it was a story that was rampant and ripe with misunderstandings as to what the implications were for the monument. So the monument is still not Druidic and it's not Welsh per se. It's just that parts of it came from Wales, the stones, and some of the people buried around it came from Wales, but it doesn't mean that Stonehenge is a Welsh monument.
No, it does mean that it's still the biggest cash cow for his English heritage, and they're still about to lam a dual carriageway across the World Heritage Site landscape, but that's another story. What I liked about that particular story is that it ties in really with this view that's becoming increasingly backed by the evidence that prehistoric society, when monuments like Stonehenge were built, was far more cosmopolitan. The people travelled, or certain people at least travelled far more than was ever thought in the past.
Yep.
There used to be the idea of cultural diffusion, where it was objects and ideas that travelled and not people. Now we're actually seeing it's actually people.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting is that that I don't quite I do understand why, but it's interesting that people fell into this idea that somehow there was a more stagnant, stable, unmoving period in human history, when we've for a long time accepted that in the Paleolithic, at the last glacial maximum, art and shells and other goods were moving across thousands of miles in terms of distance. Yeah. And whether that means people en masse were moving or simply there were trade networks, nonetheless you need people to be carrying this material. So in some ways this kind of fits in nicely with that ongoing 40,000, 50,000 year history of people moving around, certainly around all of Europe, and this absolutely ties into that broader story of Stonehenge. But it was a story that you know, for personal reasons, you know, coming from Wales, but also for academic reasons, I felt the need to comment on, and also to try and add a little bit of context to the story back when it was published in when was this in August. Yep. So yes, there we go. Okay, what's your Pictionary then?
My Pictionary. Here we go.
Actually, is Pictionary a trademark?
Well,
what's your Drury Guessy?
The Drury Guessy game. Yeah, this is not Pictionary, which is a wonderful game that is marketed by one of the world's leading toy manufacturers. Okay, this is my.
Okay.
I have here a pen.
Is it a Sharpie?
It is a Sharpie.
Oh no, that's another trademark. Ah!
And so here we go with Picture Guessy game.
Hang on. Sorry, I can't quite see. Tell you what, I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to put myself up here. There you go. Now I can see all of you. Okay.
Okay, so here we go. So we got. Where's the picture? There's a little house.
I can see I can see a house. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little house.
A little house. Little house on the prairie.
Oh, it's not on the prairie.
A little house on.
It's a little house
in a snowscape.
By a lake.
Oh, we need to hold up the picture a bit higher. Oh, okay, I can see that.
Yeah,
by a lake,
by the lake.
Okay, by a lake, yeah.
And there's a little flag.
Giant lady, giant flag. Giant lady? Fishing.
Flag.
England.
And,
is that an English flag?
No, not England.
Okay.
Not England. And we've got.
I thought we weren't doing Brexit. That looks like Dover.
There's a.
Keep away.
There's somebody.
Oh.
Swimming in the lake.
Oh, I like that, swimming. Yeah, I like that. Head and arm. Yeah.
Suddenly, out of the lake.
Oh.
It's a hand. And then the hand.
Now you need to give me a chance to guess what you're drawing, though. Up a bit. Oh, this is the story of King Arthur.
No.
No. That is, if you had colours, should the flag be yellow and blue?
Absolutely.
I think this is the Swedish sword in the lake story, where a little girl called Saga, I think.
Saga Vanacek.
Yes, discovered a sword in a lake. Now I'm just going to move things around again. There we go. Cool.
Yeah.
So, what drew you to this particular story then?
What I loved about this story was that first of all, it's an absolutely wonderful find. It's a pre-Viking sword that came from a lake where Saga, it's Lake Vidstern in Sweden, and she was just there on holiday with the family and was scrabbling around looking for sticks and stones to play with on the edge of the lake, and found something, picked it up, and what came out was a sword, and it is the lady. She is the lady of the lake. It is so tied in with that Northern European tradition of depositing things in lakes, and including swords. But here she found it, but the best thing about it, it wasn't sort of put up for sale by the local museum had to scrabble around to buy it or something. It was they took it to the museum in Jönköping, which is the nearest big town, and the archaeologists there went back, worked at the site, found a few more finds, and it's just a wonderful story. And so now Saga is the she's the Swedish lady of the lake. She's recovered this wonderful sword. The sword's now being studied and will be on display, and everybody's happy.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
Well, I quite liked the little idea that she initially wanted to keep it. She talked about wanting to keep the sword, and how you seemed quite enamoured with the fact that she sort of posed with it, like yes, like He-Man or something in the water. But she seems to be taking great pleasure in the idea that people will be able to go to the museum and see it, so more people will be able to actually take pleasure in this sword. Some people are even saying that they may name it Saga's sword. I mean, surely to goodness, the story of the discovery is going to be tied up with this artifact for as long as it's as long as we know about it. Surely.
Absolutely. Particularly Northern Europe. We know these magical swords like King Arthur's Excalibur or Caliburn, and various other magical swords. They all have names, and they're all forged by magical or smiths with magical powers and so on.
What's cool is that there's this element of the sword. In that sense, I guess arguably this is just the latest chapter in its story, because swords forever have taken on, as you say, magical properties or names, or the owner's sort of deeds are attached to the sword, or there's an element of, especially when you throw the sword into a lake in particular, you are removing it from society because no one else is worthy of having this thing.
That's right, which is the essence of the King Arthur, the essence of the King Arthur story, of course.
You got a bit excited there.
My hand caught on the edge of the computer.
But also, actually, there's one final little thing as well, just in terms of, I suppose, from a professional standpoint, which was really nice, and that is that the museum's staff said in the local.se news story here, I covered it. We asked Saga not to tell anyone about the sword, because we were afraid that if this find would go public too soon, there would be a lot of people there, perhaps destroying our possibility of finding other things. And initially they weren't sure if it might be a series of graves possibly nearby, but actually this does look like more of a sacrificial deposition. But it was nice that actually she was able to keep this story to herself, wait a little bit for the process to happen properly, and then she got all the excitement of sharing it with the world as well. So it was a lovely story.
Absolutely, and also again, although no money was involved, so as we're aware, the Jönköping County Museum archaeologists were also working with the Swedish Metal Detecting Association to do a detector survey around the part of the lake bed where the sword turned up, to see if there were any other metallic objects in the area. And I should just also add the Jönköpings Landsmuseum website says that the sword's currently undergoing conservation, and it should be on exhibition from the autumn of 2019. So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, actually, next year we might be going to Sweden. So that could be something to go and look at. Who knows?
Absolutely. We'll have a great time. It's a wonderful country.
Well, I'm definitely going to pop. We're definitely going to try. If we do go, we're definitely going to try and pop and see in Norway the Osterberg ship as well.
Yeah.
Which of course you're not allowed to touch, but I might have to. Off camera.